Today, I wanted to share with you 5 dystopian books that are some of my favorite reads. Um, just because the world's going sideways, and I feel like we need that light at the end of the tunnel, which all of these books provide. So, the first one is The Giver. You probably read this when you were younger. I would encourage you to pick it up again as an adult because it just hits differently. And this is where a young boy is living in a world where there is no pain, there is no fear. Everything is just kind of middle of the road. So you don't end up with all the ups and downs. Everything's just kind of here. And how that ends up kind of being bland, and he is provided the opportunity to see memory or feel memory, where he starts to see what life was like before. And I just absolutely love this. And I think it's one of those books that if you haven't picked it up as an adult, I would recommend it because it, like I mentioned at the beginning, it just hits different now. The second book is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and this is one that I personally think everybody can and should read, and I think everybody ends up loving this book. I gave this to my husband. He loved it, and he's not a big reader. This is where a flu hits the world, and it's kind of like this pandemic that occurs. This was written before COVID, just so you know. But it is about these people. It follows quite a few people, and it's going from like present day where the world is, there's been a collapse in the world, and then also going back in time prior to this flu hitting, and like slowly things starting to dissolve over time. And it's following the Traveling Symphony. And these are a group of people who have come together in arts and music, and how they kind of are handling the situation, and how they travel from town to town, bringing their theater, their music, that type of thing, and just this survival situation that they're living in, and the good that occurs in these survival situations, and the evil that occurs in these survival situations. And I just thought it was so, so good, and definitely one of those books that everybody should read. The third one is The Wolves of Winter by Tyrell Johnson. And this is one I haven't heard anything about. I never hear anybody talk about it. I absolutely love this book. I love to read books that are set in like specific places. And this one had all the feels for winter. You can feel the Canadian Yukon. You can feel the coldness. And I absolutely love that when I read it in winter. So I would definitely pick this for a wintertime read, or in the middle of summer when you need something cold feeling. This is a great one. This, on the back, it says that it is kind of between Hunger Games and Station 11. And I can see where that feels like that. I also, if you ever saw Sweet Tooth, there were parts of this that remind me of Sweet Tooth. And it is where a war has occurred, and the world has gone cold. So everybody that survived is trying to move to the colder areas so that they have a better chance of continuing to survive. This follows a family and a young girl. The young girl is the main character. She's a young woman. I would say she's early, she's a young adult. And it is written through her eyes. And it is what occurs when a stranger comes onto their property and what they will do as a family with this situation. It was so good. There is trigger warnings for sexual assault, but this is such a well-written, great, propulsive book to read. The next one is The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks-Dalton. This is another favorite of mine, and if you live in Florida, this is a must read, or honestly, any of your coastal areas that deal with hurricanes, this is a great read, because this is where these hurricanes just have continued to hit Florida, and the infrastructure starts to disappear. The waters are kind of rising around these coastal towns, and electricity starts to go out, and over time, because they're getting hit over and over again, the communities can't build back up. So it just slowly starts to dissipate. And there's a family, there's a little girl who is having to survive in this situation. The family's having to survive through this situation. And there's some magical realism in it. And it is just so good. I absolutely love this and think it's another one of those just beautiful reads. But if you live in Florida, you must read this. And then the last one is Wild Dart Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. And this is another beautiful read. Again, the waters are rising, and this family lives on this island where they are in charge of the seed bank. They are living and protecting the seeds on the island. And a woman washes ashore, and what they have to do, again, similar to the Wolves of Winter, like what they have to do, what they're willing to do to protect their own family and to protect the seeds, and trying to discover why is this woman here, because this is a desolate area and it's very difficult to get to the island. So the fact that she washes ashore is very questionable. So it's kind of a mystery as to why is she here? What is going on with these people that live on the island, this family that lives on the island? Why are they keeping secrets from her? What is, there's lots going on as to the mystery of it all. And also just the situation that they're in. It is another beautiful read. Like I mentioned, these are all amazing 4 or 5 star reads, and I would say all of them have a great sense, other than The Giver, all of them have a great sense of place and a feeling of dread, obviously with these dystopian novels, but then a feeling of what humanity does in situations like this. Okay, if we were to talk about the different things that you would need in a situation like this, one, there are people out there who are far better at this information than I am. But I've noticed for a lot of people, when they're preppers, they tend to go overboard, or it's not practical for a lot of the use that people may have. If you were in a situation like this, just think about a couple of things that you could use or have on hand for a situation. Now, I am one who is not a prepper, but based on where we live in Florida, we do have times when food is not readily available, like during hurricanes. So we made the decision, it was something actually my husband has been bugging me for quite some time to do. I finally made the decision to purchase one of these. I will probably purchase one or two more. It's a week's worth of food for one person, but that's on a 2,000 calorie a day. That's getting 2,000 calories a day, which I think if it was a survival situation, you could eat far less. So we ended up purchasing this from Patriot Supply. It's 1 week of food. There is like strawberry cream of wheat, potato soup. There's some sort of chicken thing. There's an energy drink. There's rice. There's oatmeal. And a few other things. So we have this on hand. And then there are a couple of things that we do as well when I'm out shopping, that I'll just pick up on. This would be obviously a situation where you still have water available to you and you still have electricity, although we do have propane tanks, so we could get through a short period of time cooking things on the grill as well. So just a couple of things to think about. When it comes to my pantry, I don't have a basement. I just have a pantry. So I try to think of things that we have on hand that we would also eat. So one being tuna. And I like to buy these packets because I feel like I can have more in them with less space than like the cans. We buy a lot of salt. We buy a lot of pastas. We buy a lot of canned goods, beans, obviously all of those types of things. I always try to keep a couple of bags of rice on hand. Oh, I just used one up. I purchased those through Thrive Market. Also, bags of beans. All of this stuff is, stuff that you would have on hand. Apple cider, flour. But the one thing I don't think people think about as much is if you don't have a garden or don't have the space for a garden, a couple of things that you can do to help get the nutrients in is like your herbs. If you can just keep an herb garden or a small lettuce garden, that would be nice. But the other thing, Hamama, Hamama, they have these seed packets that you can buy, and I have quite a few of these on hand as well that we do go through, but they come in a container. So when you purchase these, you'll want to also get this one's plastic. They've got prettier ones, bamboo ones, but this one's plastic. And I'll just put this in here, take it out of this packet, and you fill it with water until it shows you. There's a line that shows you. And then you just set it on your countertop, and it will provide you with sprouts. These are broccoli seed sprouts. So there's a lot of nutrients in these. They're easy to prepare. You don't need a lot of light, and you can keep a lot of them on hand. And then you can also continue to use these. I use these on salads, on soups, avocado toast, eggs, pretty much anything you can use them on to not feel like you're just holding on to something that will be wasted. I just realized I had this set down, so I apologize. Hopefully that wasn't annoying to you. The other thing is protein. I love Pro-Delicious, not that this matters to anybody that kind. This is just a very clean protein. It's whey protein, freeze-dried strawberries, and I think a little bit of stevia. But these are great because I have, I'll get 3 at a time so that I save on shipping. And then I just have them on hand for when we need them. We go through them slowly, but it is a situation that if something were to happen, I do have packets of protein that is here to kind of help get us through. Obviously, we are not planning a situation to like survive endless, like dystopian style situation. um, this is just more prepping for a few weeks. Because honestly, if I were to live in a situation, I don't know if I'd want to have to go through that kind of survival situation. But this provides us enough to help for small situations. I mean, I think we all dealt with this during COVID, where there were times when certain ingredients were not available to us. So I think that is a real thing that we can deal with. There are times that people will deal with those situations. And I like to have it in my head that I am prepared somewhat for a situation like that. And then obviously working on garden skills, growing things like that, obviously that would be very helpful. If anybody has tips on that stuff, it is very hot here and very humid, so it is very difficult to keep things alive in our garden. But yeah, if you have tips, let me know, because we don't have a lot of space. Yeah, so those are kind of the things that we keep on hand for ourselves, just to have peace of mind more than anything else.